everyone, welcome back to the MFT YouTube channel. I'm Karolyn and I'm dropping in today to share two projects that I created using the Movin Groovin Die-namics, one with a slimline set and one with a horizontal set. Each of the Movin Groovin Die-namics sets contain all of the dies that you'll need to create an interactive mechanism that allows the end of the pull tab to rotate as it travels through a rolling channel. Let's take a look at each of the sets, which I should note are sold separately. Each set contains a pull tab, a rolling channel, a coordinating rolling edge die to help you hide the rolling channel, two half-inch circle dies to use as caps for spin and slide discs, two ovals that attach to the end of the pull tab with the hole, and a die to cut a pull tab collar or wrap. I found in designing these dies that it worked best if you die cut and adhere together two of the main pieces because you get quite a bit of resistance in the movement of the mechanism. The exception to that is the pull tab, which would have made the dies less cost effective. So you just have to die cut the pull tab twice. The only difference between the two sets is that the Movin Groovin set is designed for a horizontal A2 card and the Movin Groovin slimline set is designed for a standard slimline card. Off camera, I die cut the pieces to the mechanism from smooth white cardstock, and I'm adhering the two pull tab die cuts and the two oval die cuts together with my tape runner adhesive. We're starting with the slimline set, but you'll see later on in the video that you assemble the horizontal die cuts exactly the same. The oval dies provide an embossed circle as an indicator of where to adhere one of the spin and slide discs, and a scored line that will assist you in adhering the ovals to the end of the pull tab. I've applied a small dot of quick drying glue in the middle of the embossed circle, and I'll adhere a spin and slide disc there. I flip the oval over to the other side, and I'm positioning the end of the pull tab with a hole so that it butts up next to the embossed line. Then I'll add another small dot of quick drying glue, I'll adhere a spin and slide disc, and then I'll adhere one of the half-inch circle die cuts on top of the spin and slide disc using another dot of glue. Next, I trim two narrow strips of double-sided foam tape that I'll adhere together, and then I'll adhere them onto the oval die cut so that it butts up against the edge of the pull tab. This will keep the oval from over-rotating and jumping the channel when the mechanism is activated. Off camera, I used the Stitch Slimline Snowdrifts Die-namics to die cut a snowdrift, and then I used the rolling edge die from the Movin Groovin Slimline Die-namics to die cut another snowdrift just a hair shorter than the first snowdrift. I'll place the rolling snowdrift on top of the other one, and I'll use my pencil to mark that edge. This will help me align the rolling channel onto the first snowdrift, which is where we'll build our mechanism. Once I've erased the pencil lines, I can position the assembled pull tab behind the rolling channel and place it so that the spin and slide disc sits inside the far left end of the channel. And then I'll adhere the second half-inch circle die cut on top of the spin and slide disc with a small dot of glue. I die cut the pull tab collar or wrap from some text weight printer paper, and I'll adhere the ends together with my liquid glue pen. I'll apply more liquid glue to the back of the collar, and I'll slide that onto the end of the pull tab and adhere it to the back of the snowdrift. I know I've mentioned it a million times, but this is my favorite way to keep a pull tab aligned when a mechanism is in motion. And when I tug on the pull tab, I can see that everything is working exactly like it's supposed to. To keep the pull tab from slipping behind the image panel too far, I'll place another narrow strip of double-sided foam tape on the pull tab end just to the right of the pull tab collar. I die cut an image panel from Summer Splash cardstock using the Slimline Starter Die-namics. I also stamped the snowfall background stamp onto the panel using white pigment ink. I've adhered two layers of double-sided foam tape and foam squares to the back of the mechanism snowdrift, and I'll adhere it to the bottom edge of the panel. I trimmed a strip of acetate that measures 1/4 inch by 3 inches, and I've adhered some 1/4 inch double-sided tape to one end. I'll adhere that strip to the half-inch circle that sits outside the rolling channel. Off camera, I stamped one of the sentiments from the Pandas at Play stamp set onto the rolling snowdrift using embossing ink, and then I heat embossed it with some green embossing powder. I'll adhere it to the assembled image panel with 2 layers of foam squares so that it covers up the rolling channel. I've adhered a foam square to the strip of acetate And this is where I'll attach that adorable scooter riding panda from the Pandas at Play stamp set. I'm applying some tape runner adhesive to the back of the assembled image panel, and I'll adhere that to a Summer Splash card base that measures 7 inches by 8.5 inches, scored at 3.5 inches on the 7-inch side, and folded in half. I stamped and die cut some of the trees from the Pandas at Play stamp set, and I've used those to embellish my scene. And as you can see, when I pull on the pull tab, that scootin' panda slides along those rolling snowdrifts like he owns the place. Okay, let's try the Movin and Groovin Die-namics to create an A2 horizontal card. I did all the die cutting, stamping, and coloring off camera so that all you have to do is focus on the assembly of the mechanism. This card features the You Slay Me stamp set. I'm adhering the 2 pull tabs and the 2 ovals together with my tape runner adhesive, just as we did with the slimline die cuts. And I'm adhering one of the spin and slide discs to the embossed circle with a dot of glue. I flip the oval over and I'm positioning the pull tab so that the end with the hole is butted up against the embossed line on the oval. I'll add a drop of glue through the hole and I'll adhere the other spin and slide disc to the oval and cap it off with one of the 1/2-inch circle die cuts and more glue. I'm using a scrap of smooth white cardstock that was previously cut using the largest of the dies from the A2 stitched rectangle stack set 2 dynamics. I'm positioning the rolling channel at the bottom of that panel so that I can get an idea of where I need to place the rolling edge die. I'll secure it in place with a piece of washi and I'll die cut it off camera. And then I'll mark that rolling edge onto the other snowdrift with my pencil, just as we did before with the slimline card. This will help me position and die cut the rolling channel from the larger snowdrift. I've placed the assembled pull tab behind the snowdrift so that the spin and slide disc peeks through the rolling channel, and I'll cap that off with some glue and the other 1/2-inch circle die cut. I'm adhering the ends of the pull tab collar with my glue pin, and then I'll slip that through the end of the pull tab and secure it to the back of the snowdrift using more liquid glue. So far, the instructions are exactly the same as the slimline card that we created earlier in the video. I'm adding a narrow strip of foam tape to the oval so that it butts up against the flat end of the pull tab, and this will keep the rotating end of the pull tab from over-rotating or jumping the track. I've added 2 layers of foam squares to the back of the assembled snowdrift in areas where it won't interfere with the mechanism, and I'll adhere it to the image panel. I trimmed a 1/4 inch by 3 inch acetate strip that I've adhered some double-sided tape to one end, and I'll adhere that to the 1/2-inch circle. Okay, here's where I felt like I needed to put on my engineering hat. In my mind, the penguin on the sled would bob up and down as he rolled over the snowdrifts. So I decided to figure out a way to have him rotate with the movement. So I die cut a second image using the You Slay Me Die-namics, and I trimmed it so that I was left with the string for the sled and a tab that I could use to attach the penguin. I adhered that behind the colored image with my glue pen. Then I used my 1/16 inch hole punch to punch a hole in the tab. Off camera, I used my 1/16 inch and 1/4 inch hole punches to create a gasket that I attached to the tab with a small brad. I bent the prongs of the brad and used my metal snips to snip off the ends. I used my scissors to trim off the excess tab, and then I adhered a tiny strip of foam tape to the gasket. I adhered the penguin to the gasket, and you can see that he rotates to the right or left. However, it turns out that this whole process was completely unnecessary, as both images move with the rotating end of the pull tab, so I guess I kind of overthought it a bit. I'm temporarily positioning the rolling snowdrift so that I can figure out where to place my images. I know I want to secure the penguin to the first strip of acetate, but I need to place another strip of acetate to the rotating oval so that the little girl glides along with the penguin. I've adhered double-sided tape to the end of the acetate strip, and I'll adhere that to the right end of the rotating oval through the rolling channel. I secured the images to each of the acetate strips using small foam squares. Now I can adhere the rolling snowdrifts to the image panel using more foam squares that are strategically placed so as not to interfere with the mechanism. I adhered the panel to an A2 card base, embellished it, and added a sentiment. I've listed and linked all of the MFT products that I used for both cards below in the description box. I'm super excited to see the fun designs that you create using the Movin Groovin Die-namics. If you have any questions about how they work, please leave a comment below and I'll do my best to answer them. Thanks for watching and have a spectacular day.